Hey friends, if you like the Nexus Podcast, the best way to continue the learning is to join our community. There are 3 ways to do that. First, you can join the Nexus Pro membership. It's our global community of smart building professionals. We have monthly events, paywall deep dive content, and a private chat room, and it's just $35 a month. Second, you can upgrade from the Pro membership to our courses offering. It's headlined by our flagship course, The Smart Building Strategist, and we're building a catalog of courses taught by world-leading experts on each topic under the Smart Buildings umbrella. Third, and finally, our marketplace is how we connect leading vendors with buyers looking for their solutions. The links are below in the show notes, and now let's go on to the podcast. Welcome back to the Nexus Podcast. It's James. I have Rosy here with me. Say hi, Rosy.
Hi, guys and gals.
It is the week after NexusCon, so we are just kind of getting back into the swing of things. Like, what's my name? What day is it? I don't even know what day it is half the time this week for some reason. We have April Yee here with us from CBRE at Microsoft. Hi, April.
Woo-woo.
Hi, thanks for having me.
April, thanks for being here. I'd love to give listeners a little bit more background on who you are. So maybe you could share with us what you currently do and how you ended up in this world.
Sure, yeah. So I am the director of digital engineering for a very specific account. I've been with CBRE for 3.5 years, which was actually just boosted by my formative career days. From the beginning to now, it's actually been full circle. I've always focused on technology design, digital transformations and innovation, and like growth strategy in all the behind the scenes industries. So commercial real estate and digital engineering was a perfect fit.
How are you feeling after spending the week in Denver with us?
I would say mentally exhausted, but also very motivated.
Very motivated.
That's like a really good way to say it. I feel
Yeah,
the same.
it was like I was super motivated coming out of it. I came home, I talked with my husband about it. I was chatting to colleagues, and I'm like, all right, let's just get things done. Let's make things happen.
I love
What
that.
do you think? What do you attribute that motivation to? Is it because there are people there that were doing things that you aren't doing, or is it just like generally the vibe of the show?
I would say a little bit of the vibe. It was primarily driven by the conversations that I heard and I participated in. But one of the themes that I kept hearing had to do with questioning who has ownership of this or who's responsible or accountable, who owns the data. And it was a lot of like, who does this? Who owns this? How do we do this? And there were honest conversations between all of the 3 categories of attendees who were lucky enough to be there. But my takeaway from those conversations and that theme was if you're asking yourself this question and you're in your working environment, ask it out loud and just answer it with your partners or suggest, I don't think I own this. Do you think you own this?
Yeah,
like,
who does?
yeah. And like, just answer it and figure it out. Like, stop mulling and hemming and hawing. Just go and ask the question, have the conversation, and then you're good to go. Let's keep things moving.
That's awesome. You had quite the show. So you spoke in 2 different sessions, like gave presentations in 2 different sessions, and you emceed a 3rd session. And we gave you an award at the end, the Nexpert of the Year. So like you were all over the place, I would say.
It was a busy conference. I was not anticipating it to be so busy, even though I knew I was participating in 3 of those sessions and excited about engaging in conversations. But in the end, it was like the prep forced me to also dive in deeper into, like what's truly going on in the sites that I'm managing and with my teams. And also because I was able to MC one of the sessions, MCing to me is not just like, oh, I'll just facilitate and tell you when to speak and ask you questions. it's my opportunity to learn about what others are doing, like have those intimate conversations, and then like dig into and like research truly what they're presenting on. Because you only have, if you haven't been to NexusCon in a session, you only have a little teaser of a presentation before you open it up for questions. So like that teaser is like all you get as an MC when you're preparing. I'm like, okay, well, what does like Modelica actually do? What are these different solutions that people are talking about? So yeah, it was busy, but it was very, very rewarding.
You sort of set the standard for being a moderator, I would say. I didn't even know you did this, but I saw Andrew from Ace IoT, Andrew Rogers, post after NexusCon that you gave all your speakers like sort of a speaker wellness package that had Advil and had like little different things for them. That was so sweet and so thoughtful. So we really need to probably incorporate that into our Nexus approach to speakers. That's so cute. How did you come up with
She
that?
also had in the other session nerds and bingo cards. Maybe that was the same session, but
Same, yeah, I think so. Yeah, tell us more about that because I wasn't there, and so I really missed out. It looked like a really fun session.
I think one of my big things when I'm asking people to spend their time with me or a panel or whatever, if I'm asking for your time, I want to make it worth it. I want to make it engaging, and I want to have a way to keep it fun, regardless of how serious or mundane the topic could be. And so the motivation for the speakers was, first of all, I have to thank and shout out to all of the speakers that were in the panel IMC because none of them dropped out. Like for the original 5 who were selected for the session, none of them dropped out, and they were all super like responsive and engaging from the start. So as a thank you, it takes a lot to present, like all of the preparation and engagement with like reviews and whatnot. So like as a thank you for staying committed and not leaving us high and dry, I gave them a little like I just want to give them something like super small, simple, and as a thank you that's also consumable, so it's not going to take up space or anything. So that was that piece. And then we've all acknowledged that we're quite nerdy in this space, and so Nerd Candies was kind of my signature move since last year. So I repeated that. It seemed to be a hit last year, so I figured I'd bring that back. And we were also the last session of a very, very action-packed day. And I was thinking, man, that's a tough session to lead and like keep people engaged at this point. People's brains are blowing up and they're just like melting all at the same time. So to like help them keep, I don't know, just their attention or just make it fun a little bit, we talked as a team, like, what do we do to like make sure that, they're present? And I can't remember who it was. I think it was actually Mike Robbins from Lockheed Martin who presented, who suggested, what if we did like a bingo kind of thing? Mm-hmm. And so since all of our, technologies and our industry is moving towards AI and we have all of these resources, we figured, well, let's put a nerdy bingo card together and make like different versions of it using AI and all the business jargon that's out there and have some swag.
Amazing.
Awesome. I agree with you, Rosy. She sets the standard.
Yeah,
we have
it's really great.
18 MCs per NexusCon, and we need to create like a how to be like April guide.
Details matter is the takeaway.
Details matter. I love
that. That's really awesome. Yeah. Well, everyone who attended your sessions, we heard such great feedback. And so when we went into NexusCon, we didn't know who's going to win the next, like we had a short list for the Nexpert Award, but we really tried to be present at the conference and talk to people that were there and, share that short list and try to figure out like who's the right fit for this year. And so we're so happy that, your name came up time and time again and that you were so involved and that you really helped make it a success and help change people's experience. So we want to say thank you again.
No, thank you. It was a great
When
opportunity.
April, when I put you on the spot in the closing keynote, you said something that I thought was interesting to bring up on this podcast, which was that you took something from NexusCon 2024 from the Lockheed Martin program
Devin.
and Devin
And
Tracy.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you brought that back and implemented it. And then you showed up at NexusCon 2025 talking about it. And I just like had this moment on stage where I was like, oh, wow, that's so amazing. Because we've heard that before from people. We heard a lot around like, well, I met this person and now we're working together. And then we've been working together for the last year. And here we are together back at NexusCon. So I think it's something to highlight, but I also would love for you to give a shout out to Devin and tell her what you told the group because she wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually reached out to her immediately after NexusCon last year. And I said, I loved your session about gamifying FDD and making it like not just tangible, but like rewarding and fun for the technicians to engage in this opportunity. Because at the end of the day, some of the conversations are, like we have to motivate them, like tell them what the shared outcome is, and we're going to save X% of energy.
Like super high level.
Yeah. Like also realistically, I'm not going to, I'll be blunt. Technicians don't really care. Like they want to do right by their client and right by their owners.
Sure.
But also, if they're incentivized to deliver on all of these required work orders, FDD is just another thing to do.
Yeah.
So how do you make it fun? And she mentioned a golden nugget, and that's something that they, I think, shipped or passed around their technicians. Ours was a little bit different of an approach, but the same fundamental concept of gamify it and incentivize them to participate. And so that's what from NexusCon 2024 up until I think December, it takes a bit of preparation planning, really thoughtful attention to details and how you keep score and how you, award whatever the award is. We launched it in, I think, February. And have been running through it and have been awarding quarterly prizes, and people are engaging, and it's like different people each quarter, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I wanted to ask you about attending it for the first time and then attending it this year. What were your thoughts on sort of like how the community is evolving, given that, a lot of the stuff that we tried out for the first time last year, we kept what worked and like let what didn't work fall away. I would say one thing that we refined was like getting into in a session, getting into the breakout discussions and doubling down on those versus you go to another conference that's much more rare, right? And so I wonder how you feel about how the community is evolving and how the event is sort of taking on a life of its own.
I think what is incredibly valuable of NexusCon, and I don't throw the word valuable loosely, like to me, I only say there's something of value if I can show what the value is. If there's a concept or there might be potential value in something, but I don't say something is explicitly valuable until I actually experience and understand what that value is. So I think the value that I get and got out of NexusCon, and I think it's evident that I returned and participated, is that the conversations were probably even more focused than last year. And it was great to begin with, but I think the conversations were even more focused. But at the same time, they also organically seem to plant seeds for continued evolution of NexusCon, meaning there is a demand for different conversation topics just as important, but we didn't get a chance to talk about them yet. So like people are actively thinking about the next version and different types of attendees that we might want to target so that we can have similar conversations. Or here's a different like version of this category. So for example, service providers can be pretty wide. CBRE is a service provider. They're also a technology provider. But then you have consulting firms who are service providers, and they provide service in different ways. CBRE, there's a consulting aspect, there's the FM aspect, like boots on the ground. There's also technology providers who provide services. And so there, even within service providers, there's nuance and even opportunity to have conversation amongst them, from design in consultation to operations and boots on the ground. Like, is there a gap there? Potentially. How do we bridge that across the industry and influence that bridge at specific accounts at each building with each owner?
Totally.
So I think overall, yeah, I think it's just the conversations were focused, and it started creating that demand and an expectation and really a need for more intentional and honest conversations, which is more of NexusCon, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, on that service thank you, by the way. That means a lot to hear you say that. On the service provider thought, I had someone come up to me and say, like, I'm gonna get all the architects here next year, which I thought was funny. It's kind of along the same lines of what you're saying. Is like, we need to be able to then take this message that the community is converging upon and then take it to these other stakeholders that aren't represented well there, or bring them in. It's one of the two. It's probably both, but like, we need the ability to communicate what we've all decided here to the architects or to
and contractors. Like, there's some
contractors.
There's some gaps
exactly.
that would really make a big impact if we could just get them in the conversation.
Yeah, this was Rob Andrade from Overcast. He was saying this. He was basically saying, like, the architects need to be here. It's like it's a problem for them that they're not here, kind of thing, which I thought was interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. It's like a blind spot.
Yeah. Let's talk about the sessions you were in. So the first one was AI for energy management, real case studies. You were a presenter in this one. Do you just want to take us through and just take us through the kind of the highlights of it? And I will tell people straight up that we're going to have recordings. There's going to be a bundle you can purchase of all the recordings that'll come with the slides and summaries of the sessions and all of that. Or you can just be a Nexus Pro member and you'll get this as part of your membership. And so that's coming out, Rosy, in the next few weeks, I think.
Yeah, we're just editing it, and they're going to be awesome. There's just I want to watch all of them because I couldn't be in 6 places at once. So I'm excited to also school
me too.
myself.
Yeah. So April, on the AI for energy management session, that one sounded cool. What was that all about?
It was a real case study. It's a very specific case study. We have others across, but I wanted to hone in on this because it was implemented. We actively use it. We've iterated on, and it's still in place today. But it's driven on a very simple concept of when to start your HVAC systems for the day and when to stop them or end them for the day. And the AI part, it's actually just machine learning. There isn't really the additional like human brain cognitive component. It's taking a specific set of data, specific sets of data, and continuing to learn based on those continually updated data sets. And we use outdoor temperature, indoor temperature, occupancy. I think those are the 3 primary data sets that we're using. So we have an API to a trusted weather source. And then we have all of our own sensors in-house, as well as occupancy data. It could be sensors, it could be badge swipes, whatever your mechanism is. And building 4 different models, which is how long would it take for our building to ramp up to temperature in the morning or ramp down in the evening. So those are 2 different models, both the same regression, but 2 different models to build that out. And then also the estimated time when occupancy would reach 80%, 90%, 10%, 20% on the front end and on the back end. So based on those 4 different models, it automatically adjusts the HVAC systems, which for one building, probably not a big deal. But when you're talking about a campus with 100 buildings all around town and very different building behaviors, somebody called buildings snowflakes at the conference, and I think it's super accurate. Every building is different and they behave differently. Every system that's set up there is different. And so basically taking in the nuance of each building and the occupancy times that those business groups arrive allow us as a centralized small team to better manage schedules, optimizing comfort without over indexing on energy consumption by starting earlier and waiting to shut it down. That's a broad concept. Yeah.
That's great. And do you see the schedules that end up getting implemented as because of these machine learning models? Do the schedules change quite a bit, like week to week?
Yeah. So the other data set is its own historical smart start, smart stop times based on the relative data. So it's updating every day. And then it looks also at week trends. So Monday through Friday, what are the trends, or even really Sunday through Saturday? And we're at a point now where we can look at seasonal trends. And that's another aspect that's influencing that change. The actual start and stop times don't adjust that much, but every minute makes a difference. So I think over the course of 3 months, we saw a change in roughly like 2,500 hours, either adjusted forward or backwards, in just 3 months across our portfolio. So it definitely adds up, and it definitely makes a difference from season to season.
Very cool. All right, let's move on to, you're one of the rare speakers that switched tracks. So we had energy management, FM, ITOT. You spoke in 2 different tracks. I think there was only 1 or 2 more people in the whole conference.
She's a Swiss Army knife over here.
Swiss Army knife. So you spoke in the network visibility, the OT interoperability session, and then you emceed the Nerds Toolbox session. Do you want to just give us an overview of those 2?
Ping from Optigo Networks actually approached me regarding the opportunity to present. And it is on a case study that we are still actively using. But really the whole premise of that is we were experiencing some BMS schedules that were not getting pushed out. But we didn't know that until there was an escalation. And somebody said, it's getting warm in here, or it is very warm in here. Can we adjust it? And we'd respond to the hot and cold and adjust it, and also notice, well, the schedule never pushed to start. And we were noticing these in like spurts at a time. It wasn't consistent. There wasn't a very clear pattern. We engaged our vendor. We tried troubleshooting. We engaged our vendor to troubleshoot, our BMS vendor to troubleshoot. And then we realized, okay, well, none of this is working. We had been troubleshooting for, I want to say like 4 to 6 months on our own, and it was still going on until we remembered and realized, we have a tool that we haven't like explored yet for this situation. And it was really built on the premise of visibility of our backnet traffic. And so we're like, okay, let's dive in. Let's school ourselves on how this tool works and how to use it for this use case. And almost immediately, we were able to find backnet traffic, basically bottlenecks in certain places, one of which being a massive bottleneck between what we're calling East and West Campus. Basically, all of those campus traffic packets were bottlenecked at one choke point. And we would never have known that ever. And when we dug in a little bit deeper, it basically was I think May through October, was when we started looking at Optigo Visual BACnet, and then November until we resolved that choke point, troubleshooting, understanding why there was a choke point. And the lesson learned here was nobody did anything wrong. Those systems weren't integrated incorrectly. They were integrated in a way that worked at the time that they were commissioned, the various BMS servers. We were using Iconics at the time, and Iconic servers, the way they were integrated in and built in as far as traffic patterns, nobody did anything wrong, but they were all just overlaid over time in different, eras of management. And it created this choke point that we never would have seen without having that visibility. So the takeaway is sometimes, even if nobody does anything wrong, you can have issues that you can only relieve through visibility of your network. Like, know what's going on in your network and how it's interacting with all of your other systems. And looking back, doing an analysis, this was going on for about 2 years, and it was about 118,000 hours of, missed schedule starts that we would never have been able to figure out. It was just a needle in a haystack.
Wow.
Yeah, tangible, super, super use case that is also hard to justify when you're saying, I need network visibility, I need this tool, it's going to cost X amount. And your stakeholder saying, well, what is it going to save us? It's really saving us the risk and the hassle and all the time and energy that it's taking to troubleshoot on top of their normal workloads. But how do you tangibly demonstrate that if everything is unknown? Only until we had that visibility were we able to actually produce numbers.
Right.
So it's tricky, but it was worth it. And we've definitely shared the use case, and it's still in place today.
If you haven't been to NexusCon, I think one of the things that I'm sort of zeroing in on is is it sort of like an ideal session layout? And so I think if I would have been in your session, I would have wanted to watch your presentation, which is probably about 15 minutes, right? And then I would want to go sit at your table and fire questions at you, such as, how did you make the business case, April? Blah, 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 right? And one of the sessions I was in was around FDD, and we actually had that happen. So Andrew from LinkedIn presented about their FDD program, and then Andrew went over there and sat at table 7, and I was like, I got more questions for Andrew. I'm going to go sit at table 7. And there were 10 other people like me that also had questions for Andrew. I'm sure they were curious about the other sessions, but they were mostly focused on, I want to do what Andrew did, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was one of my big learnings. Year one, I don't know about you, Rosy. Year one, I was so worried about all of the logistical things that I didn't actually sit in any sessions. Literally was not present at any sessions. This year, I made my own agenda in the app for the first time, and went and sat and participated in the sessions. And I experienced just a little bit of magic around, I hear April talk, I'm going to go sit with April in a small table, and for 20, 30 minutes, just have a discussion with her, given the context of that case study. So I'm excited about how do we make every single session like that next time?
Yeah.
I would say that was similar to the session that I emceed on open source for the space and how people are leveraging it. Again, this session was also focused on real case studies of what people have done and successfully implemented. And the design of this one was also slightly different. When I chatted with Brad about, preparing for the session, he threw the concept of, what if we had some demos of these open source tools? Because the beauty of open source is that it's available to anyone and everyone, and you can use it in all these different ways. And I said, yeah, I think that's a great idea. And we iterated on a few different versions of it. And that was exactly what came of it. Everybody had a 6-minute teaser to present what they used and how they used it and the context in which it would be applicable. And then we set up demo tables for each of them to have deeper conversations about what they presented that resonated and spoke to the attendees. And they could also see it or ask prompt questions, and then they could test out, a test of what they were actually describing. So that was actually really cool. It did require also, again, a little more prep out of these session speakers. So huge kudos to them for participating and humoring that concept. But that was there were rich conversations that came out of that and ideas, I think.
Cool. And when people go to the recordings on that one, that one's called the Nerds Toolbox. So they'll be able to check that one out. I did want to ask you, related to the IT/OT track, since you spent so much time in there, one of the things that we announced at the end of NexusCon is that we're going to be doing what we're calling a Nexus Cast, which is like a half day, 3/4 of a day event focused on the IT/OT track only. And that's going to be coming up on December 10th for people that want to grab a ticket and put it on your calendar. We'll be sending out more information about that. But April, I wanted to ask you, this is our little bit of research before we put together the sessions for that. Given the track that you participated in there and the different sessions, whether it be open source or network visibility, et cetera, what do you think? And I'm just springing this on you. You don't know that I'm going to ask you this, but what do you think in that track? What are the owners that are thinking about OT and cybersecurity and networking? What should we include? Like, what are the problems that are sort of top of mind for that track right now for the people in that track?
I think really it's about, also, I'm going to borrow another line from Mike Robbins that he presented in and expose myself. I am not the nerd you're looking for. But with that being said, my personal observations and perspective would be, for owners, they may not know the impact, the operational cost, labor, burden, impact of the type of systems they put into their buildings, especially as an owner, because you're life cycling your systems at different points of their various life cycles. And based on two things, based on what they put in and the scopes that they receive, how are the providers building out their architecture? Like, that's a big difference. Are they home runs in your OT, or are they daisy chained, which takes a lot more maintenance and a lot more burden and a lot more like monitoring of systems and downtime? And the other aspect is when you implement a system or a solution, how is your ops team how are they going to operate the building and see that building? So again, you might have all of these solutions that you're like, okay, let's do this, and have special lighting systems, or they're going to bring in occupancy sensors, or, even their WAP systems, but they put all this in. And then if they don't have a way to see how it's architected and overlaid on one another, it kind of goes back to what happened. Nobody integrated it incorrectly, but all of that traffic, is that operator, the people who are running your facilities, what are they going to experience with all of the decisions that you're making based on either lowest cost or, best relationship or service, whatnot.
Love it. Okay. Thank you for that input. We hope to see you there. Our team is challenged over the next few weeks and months with trying to take the magic of NexusCon and making it happen online in a day or two, or a half day. Not the full magic. There's no way that we could possibly replace the in-person piece, but just can we get close to it asymptotically or something? All right, let's end this with some carve-outs. Rosy, I'm going to make you go first.
Oh my goodness, why? That's not the order in the outline. How dare you? Okay, carve out. Well, this is going to be a food one because apparently that's what I'm known for, as James said already in when we were getting started with the podcast. So I've been into different kinds of salt lately, which is a little bit random. But anyways, I love flaky salt.
Carve outs are meant to be random.
Okay, good. Well, I love flaky salt, and there's a whole world of flaky salt, as
Yes.
you may or may not know. And so so there's some that are, flavored, that are artificially flavored. So we're not talking about those, but the ones that are not artificially flavored, like ones that have like lemon zest, and you can make them yourself. And so I've made just lemon zest and salt, and you put it in a little thing, and then you use that. So good. Celery salt, which is basically like celery seeds with salt. It's really nice. So I've been getting into like making flavored salt, and it's so random, but it's really adds a kick to whatever you're making. And it's so fun. And I have these like little jars in my kitchen, and you would think I'm like a mad scientist. So anyways, highly recommend those that are listening. Give it a try. It's easy to do. There's a bunch of different ways of doing it. It's not a lot of work, and it's actually adds a lot of fun to your meal.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll go next. Mine is my girlfriend Becca and I were crazy enough to adopt a puppy on the day after NexusCon, which
God.
I regret heavily because of, I don't regret the doing it. The timing of it is what I regret. The 3 weeks probably before NexusCon are very intense. And then to add that into puppy land has been a weird transition. But we would have had to wait, I think, 3 more weeks. Like, we were already attached to this puppy via FaceTime, and we decided that we loved her. And so we would have had to wait for 3 more weeks if we wouldn't have got her on the day after NexusCon.
That's awesome.
And so just the timing of it. So I'm currently in like, how do I raise a puppy? How do I train a puppy land?
It's the whole thing.
So if anyone listening to this wants to send me some tips, the one thing about tips is everyone disagrees with everybody else. So like you learn something about training, and then you go to the next person that's like, don't do it like that, do it like this. And I'm just like a little bit overwhelmed right now.
Yeah. Rabbit holes everywhere.
Rabbit holes, so many rabbit holes. So we have
raising children.
We have a lifesaver trainer. Yeah, similar probably.
Totally.
We have a lifesaver trainer that we're expecting to save our life. She comes to our house tomorrow. So
isn't that funny when we like put all of our quite literal eggs and hope and dreams in the one person? You're like, save me.
That's exactly where I'm at right now. She's gonna come in our house, and Becca and I are gonna be like, help us. Like, we are depending on you. My other carve out is I had Jacob Jackson, who attended the conference, handed me this book that he published called Smart Buildings by Design, How the Fourth Trade Connects It All with the Purdue Model. I have not opened this book yet, but thank you, Jacob, for bringing me a copy
awesome.
at the conference.
That is awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay, April, you're up.
My carve out, I was inspired by the term carve out. So I am a skier and sailboat hobbyist. And so that's actually how my husband and I met, actually racing sailboats. And we had a once in a lifetime opportunity to race a regatta circuit championship in the British Virgin Islands at the end of this month with our really, really good sailing friends. And we can't wait to win it all, but mostly the puppy. But also
that is so fun. Is this like an organized effort? Like, can we Google this thing that you're doing, or is it not?
Totally. Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called, oh gosh, they changed their names. But if you look up Sailing World, regattas, what is it? SW.
And regatta. Where is it? It's in BC, you said?
It's in the BVIs.
Oh, okay, yeah, Virgin Islands, got it. Okay,
yeah.
I'm thinking of British Columbia because Ainsley lives there, and so that's where my head's at these days.
Right.
That's so cool.
Tropics area.
Tropical place.
Yeah, the end of October, coming from Pacific Northwest. It'll be a welcome relief from the.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited for you to do that. I hope you post a photo. That's awesome. Good luck with that. Have a blast.
Thanks.
Well, April, thanks for taking the time this week. busy week and sharing your reflections. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, friends, thank you for listening to this episode. As we continue to grow our global community of changemakers, we need your help. For the next couple of months, we're challenging our listeners to share a link to their favorite Nexus episode on LinkedIn with a short post about why you listen. It would really, really help us out. Make sure to tag us in the post so we can see it. Have a good one.